Your savings have lost roughly 12% in official purchasing power over 3 years. But for everyday goods, groceries, fuel, insurance, baskets hit closer to 30%. And the dynamics suggest this pressure persists, because this exact sequence happened before. Berlin, 1923. A university professor's life savings, enough for comfortable retirement. 18 months later, enough for 2 loaves of bread. Same money, different value. And right now, this second, the same mechanics are unfolding. Different country, same pattern, same outcome. If you have money in a bank, a 401k, or a pension, you need to see this. They took everything, not with guns, not with armies, with ink. Weimar money supply, 1921-1923 versus US M2 2020-2025. The curves match, not similar, identical. November 1923. A German professor stands in line clutching a wheelbarrow, not for construction, for his monthly salary, 83 billion marks, buys 2 loaves of bread. He taught economics for 30 years, saved every coin, planned retirement down to the decimal. Now, his life's work buys breakfast. How did this happen? He asks the baker. The baker shrugs. They said they had it under control. Here's what they don't tell you. Weimar Germany didn't collapse overnight. It collapsed over 18 months of denial, expert reassurance, and politicians promising stability around every corner. The mark? 320 to the dollar in 1921. Manageable, the Reichsbank said. By 1922, 7,400 to the dollar. Temporary spike, the finance minister announced. By November 1923, 4.2 trillion to the dollar. Silence. If this pattern sounds familiar, hit that like button now. It tells the algorithm this matters. Herr Müller, pharmacist, 55. Saved for his daughter's wedding, 300,000 marks. A decade of discipline. Wedding day arrives. His savings buy the cake. Not the venue, not the dress, not the photographer. The cake. His daughter wears her mother's old dress. They serve soup instead of dinner. Müller stands in the corner, hands trembling. I did everything right, he whispers. He did. He saved. He was prudent. He trusted the system. The system printed his future away. Fast forward. Same pattern. Washington, March 2020. Whatever it takes, Jerome Powell says. $5 trillion injected in 18 months. Inflation is transitory, they promise. Now, 2025. A machinist in Ohio, 54, stares at his retirement account. Down in real purchasing power. Grocery bill, up 30%. Mortgage rate, doubled from 3% to 6.26%. A German woman using currency to fuel her stove. Today, a credit card declined at the gas pump. Spring 1922. Germany faces an impossible choice. France occupies the Ruhr Valley, Germany's industrial heartland. Taking coal and steel as payment. Workers strike. Government promises to pay them anyway. But there's no money. So they print it. Temporary solution, they call it. The Reichsbank presses run 24 hours, 3 shifts. New presses ordered because government machines can't keep pace. In 1 week, they print more money than existed in all of Germany in 1913. Let that sink in. A decade of currency. In 1 week. March 2020. Federal Reserve balance sheet. $4 trillion March 2022. Federal Reserve balance sheet. $9 trillion. They doubled the money supply in 24 months. Now it's back to $6.6 trillion, but still massively inflated from historical norms. To save the economy, they said. Temporary measures, they promised. Sound familiar? Here's the mechanism they don't explain. Base monetary expansion doesn't create instant inflation. The danger comes when the velocity of money shifts, when expectations change. Inflation isn't just more money. It's money circulating faster against supply that can't keep pace. That's why it looked controlled, until it didn't. A welder in Detroit, 48, watches his 401k surge 40%. He doesn't realize his dollars lost 15–20% in purchasing power. Number went up, value went down. In Weimar, Workers demanded payment twice daily. Not from distrust, because by evening, morning wages couldn't buy dinner. A shopkeeper installs a chalkboard for prices, updates hourly. Bread, 200 marks at 9 a.m. Bread, 400 marks at noon. Bread, 800 marks at 3 p.m. Customers stop asking, how much? They hand over whatever they have and hope it's enough. London, 2024. A cabbie idles at a light. Fuel's up 50%. His app pings, surge pricing. Mate, he tells his passenger, the money just moves faster now, goes nowhere. That's currency debasement. The money doesn't disappear, it multiplies, but purchasing power evaporates. The Reichsbank governor sends a memo to the chancellor. We must stop. The printing press is not a solution. It's a delay mechanism for collapse. Filed away. Presses keep running. In 2024, Jerome Powell testifies before Congress. We have the tools to manage inflation, he says, reading prepared remarks. His hand trembles slightly, turning the page. The tools are the same tools that failed in 1923. Print, hope, pray. 1920s printing press drowning in paper. Modern server room creating digital money. Both mechanisms churning endlessly. August 1923. Herr Schmidt, accountant, stares at his ledger. Numbers are his life. He understands compound interest, asset allocation, risk management. None of it matters now. His savings, 500,000 marks, 25 years of careful planning. Current value, 3 pounds of butter. His daughter needs shoes. He can't afford them. His son's university tuition is due. He withdraws everything. Covers 1 month. How? His wife asks, holding the slip. Schmidt has no answer. Here's what the textbooks skip. Hyperinflation doesn't punish the reckless. It punishes the responsible. The man who borrowed to buy land, debt inflated away. He's fine. The man who saved cash, destroyed. This is wealth transfer. From savers to debtors, from the prudent to the connected. From the middle class to nobody. When asset inflation precedes goods inflation, those who already hold property suffer less real compression. That's where the middle class loses traction. Comment. When did you first notice the shift in your own purchasing power? 2020, 2022, or 2024? Frau Keller, seamstress, 42. Thread costs 10,000 marks per spool. By the time she finishes a dress, thread alone costs more than she can charge. She stops taking orders. Her savings, 30,000 marks, 3 months of expenses last year, buy 2 loaves today. She stares at the bank book, tears streaming. I was so careful. Philadelphia, 2025. An accountant sits in his home office at 11 p.m., recalculating retirement for the 4th time this month. 58 years old. Plans to retire at 65. The plan required $1.2 million. He's on track. The number's there. But inflation compounds quietly. Groceries up 30%, insurance up 40%. He runs calculations again, still says $1.2 million. But it buys what $700,000 bought 3 years ago. He leans back, staring at ceiling. In Weimar, middle class collapsed in silence. No riots, no revolution, not yet. Just quiet desperation. Doctors bartering services for food, professors selling libraries 1 book at a time. A dentist in Hamburg closes his practice. Can't afford to sterilize equipment. 23 years building this practice. Gone. Inflation will stabilize, newspapers promised. Government has a plan, radio announced. The dentist locks the door for the last time. Leeds, 2024. A real estate agent, 65, prints monthly numbers. Sales, down 60% from 2 years ago. His retirement account, conservatively invested, down 18% in real terms. Just write it out, his advisor says. The agent hangs up, stares at his empty calendar. Toronto, 2025. A factory supervisor, 59, reviews his RRSP statement. The balance looks healthy on paper, but his monthly expenses have climbed faster than his portfolio. We saved for 30 years, he tells his wife. She nods. They both know the number doesn't mean what it used to. It was the gap between promise and delivery. A family photo falls from the mantel. Glass shatters. Each piece reflects a different face, past and present. Pull up any chart. Monetary supply, debt to GDP, currency devaluation, now overlay Weimar Germany, 1921-1923. The curves match, not similar, identical. Tokyo, 2022. Yen collapses 30% in 8 months. Bank of Japan intervenes with Y9 trillion. Total quantitative easing exceeds Y500 trillion. A salaryman accepts frozen wages again. On the subway home, he calculates. His salary bought comfortable life 5 years ago. Now, skipping lunches to afford daughter's school. Same paycheck, different value. Dallas, 2025. A foreman can't afford the BBQ place he hit every Friday. Ribs, $25 now, was $14 3 years ago. Kids' college funds bleeding, he tells his wife over leftovers. TV drones. Markets show resilience, experts optimistic. He clicks it off. The indicators tell another story. Weimar's collapse wasn't dramatic. It was bureaucratic. Prices didn't explode overnight. They crept. 5% this week, 8% next, 12% after. Until suddenly, 6 months later, everything costs 10 times more. But by then, too late to prepare. Autumn 1923, Munich Beer Hall. Veterans gather. Nursing cheap beer they barely afford, a man with a small mustache stands on a table. They did this to us, he says. The bankers, the politicians, the elites in mansions while we starve. Crowd murmurs. Some nod. Someone must pay, a voice calls. Eyes turn toward shadows. You know what happened next. Birmingham, 2024. A pub Tuesday night. A veteran, 68, pawns service medals for blood pressure medication. At the next table, younger men talk low. System's rigged, mate. Printed billions for corporations. We got $400. Something's got to give. The veteran listens. Says nothing. He's heard this before. Different accents, same anger. Vancouver, 2025. A coffee shop on Commercial Drive. Former tradesmen discuss rising costs. Rent doubled in 5 years. Wages stagnant. They told us to just work harder, one says. Yeah, well, I worked harder. Now I'm just tired and broke. Nervous laughter around the table. History doesn't shout warnings. It whispers them. Weimar breadline, modern food bank. The images blur into one. Pull up any chart. Monetary supply, debt to GDP, currency devaluation, now overlay Weimar Germany, 1921-1923. The curves match, not similar, identical. Tokyo, 2022. Yen collapses 30% in 8 months. Bank of Japan intervenes with Y9 trillion. Total quantitative easing exceeds Y500 trillion. A salaryman accepts frozen wages again. On the subway home, he calculates. His salary bought comfortable life 5 years ago. Now, skipping lunches to afford daughter's school. Same paycheck, different value. Dallas, 2025. A foreman can't afford the BBQ place he hit every Friday. Ribs, $25 now, was $14 3 years ago. Kids' college funds bleeding, he tells his wife over leftovers. TV drones. Markets show resilience, experts optimistic. He clicks it off. The indicators tell another story. Weimar's collapse wasn't dramatic. It was bureaucratic. Prices didn't explode overnight. They crept. 5% this week, 8% next, 12% after. Until suddenly, 6 months later, everything costs 10 times more. But by then, too late to prepare. Autumn 1923, Munich Beer Hall. Veterans gather. Nursing cheap beer they barely afford, a man with a small mustache stands on a table. They did this to us, he says. The bankers, the politicians, the elites in mansions while we starve. Crowd murmurs. Some nod. Someone must pay, a voice calls. Eyes turn toward shadows. You know what happened next. Birmingham, 2024. A pub Tuesday night. A veteran, 68, pawns service medals for blood pressure medication. At the next table, younger men talk low. System's rigged, mate. Printed billions for corporations. We got $400. Something's got to give. The veteran listens. Says nothing. He's heard this before. Different accents, same anger. Vancouver, 2025. A coffee shop on Commercial Drive. Former tradesmen discuss rising costs. Rent doubled in 5 years. Wages stagnant. They told us to just work harder, one says. Yeah, well, I worked harder. Now I'm just tired and broke. Nervous laughter around the table. History doesn't shout warnings. It whispers them. Weimar breadline, modern food bank. The images blur into one. Shorten bond duration. They maintain tactical liquidity across currencies. They buy protection when it's cheap and nobody wants it. This isn't prediction. It's documented pattern every time expectations break from reality. Washington, 2025. $38 trillion in debt. Debt to GDP at 125%. Congressional Budget Office projects $1.8 trillion annual deficits for the next decade. Nobody's paying it back. Everyone knows this. So what happens? The pattern is clear. Borrow beyond your means. Print to service debt. Inflation destroys savings. Middle class collapses. Extremism rises. Weimar ran this playbook to completion. We're on step 3, maybe step 4. A grandfather in Seattle folds his will. Hands shaking. Worked 42 years. Saved diligently. His nest egg, $800,000, should have provided comfortable retirement. It'll last 7 years if he's lucky, if inflation stays low at 4%. His grandkids, 23 and 25, scroll TikTok financial advice. He doesn't have the heart to tell them. They'll learn soon enough. Berlin, 1924. City rebuilds on middle-class ashes. Jazz bands play. Roaring 20s arrive in Germany, late but loud. Underneath, rage simmers. In beer halls, a failed painter practices speeches. They took everything from you, he tells growing crowds, and they'll do it again unless we take power back. Applause grows louder each week. Economic collapse creates power vacuums. Power vacuums get filled. The cycle doesn't end. It pauses. It catches its breath. Then starts again. Different names, different flags. Same pattern. Print. Devalue. Collapse. Repeat. Hjalmar Schacht, the banker who saved Germany, later wrote, "Money is nothing but trust in paper form. Destroy the trust, and you've destroyed civilization itself." They destroyed the trust. Civilization paid the price. It's 2025. Presses run digitally now. Quieter, faster, more efficient. But the outcome? Identical. Your savings are being devalued in real time. Your retirement is being inflated away while you sleep. Your children's future is being printed into oblivion. And the experts, still promising it's under control, just like they did in 1923. If this video reorganized how you see prices, wages, and the gap between them, subscribe to Wealth Wars. We track what the wealthy do, not what they say. History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. And right now, the rhyme is deafening. An antique clock stops at midnight. A digital stock ticker freezes mid-crash, red numbers suspended. If this changed how you see the economy, share it. If it scared you, good. Fear keeps you alert. But whatever you do, don't do nothing. Because in 1923, the people who did nothing lost everything. It's happening again.